Have you ever caught yourself saying, "I don't have time," or maybe, "I'm just this way and I don't want to change"? We've all been there, those moments when you feel stuck, helpless, or like the world is spinning out of your control. But here's the truth. These phrases are more than just words. They're traps that keep you from growing. It's easy to think these are just harmless excuses, but the reality is, they're stopping you from taking full ownership of your life. The Stoics, those ancient masters of wisdom, knew this all too well. They didn't make excuses, they took control. And by the end of this article, you'll have the tools to do the same. If you're ready to break free from these limiting beliefs, keep reading, because life doesn't have to be a series of unchangeable circumstances. You have the power to shape it. Section 1. I don't have time. Time is a resource we can never get back. And yet, we constantly hear people, ourselves included, saying, "I don't have time." But what does that really mean? Time is not something we lose. It's something we choose to spend. Every minute, every hour is a decision. Saying "I don't have time" is often an excuse for not prioritizing what truly matters. The truth is, everyone has the same 24 hours, even the busiest person. South, why do some people manage to achieve great things while others struggle? The key lies in how we allocate our time. If something is truly important to you, you will make time for it. It's about understanding what's worth your energy, your focus, and your effort. Take Marcus Aurelius, for example. As the Roman emperor, he faced countless responsibilities, yet he still found the time to reflect, write his meditations, and lead his empire. It wasn't that he had more time than the rest of us, it was that he used it intentionally. The Stoics would argue that the real question is not how much time do I have, but how am I using my time? If you feel time slipping away, pause and examine where it's going. Are you wasting it on distractions, or are you investing it in something meaningful? The next time you catch yourself saying, "I don't have time," ask, what's more important than this right now? Break down your tasks into what's essential and stop giving your time away to things that don't align with your values. Section 2. I'm just this way. Don't want to change. It's one of the most dangerous statements you can make. I'm just this way, and I don't want to change. This mindset isn't just a sign of complacency. It's a roadblock to self-growth. To say, "I don't want to change," is to close the door on the possibility of becoming better, more capable, and more resilient. The truth is, no one is born perfect. We all have areas where we can grow. Stoicism teaches that change isn't just possible, it's necessary. The Stoic philosopher sees themselves as a work in progress, constantly refining their thoughts, actions, and character. They understand that we are not defined by our past mistakes or traits, but by our ability to adapt and evolve. Take Sophia, for example. For years, she believed that her short temper was just who she was. She had a strong sense of justice and fairness, and when things didn't go her way, she would lash out. But one day, she realized that her reactions were not helping her. It was sabotaging her relationships and peace of mind. Sophia made the decision to change. It wasn't easy, but by practicing patience and mindfulness, she started to reframe her reactions and approach life with more calmness and understanding. As Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you respond to it that matters." If you believe your current state is who you are, you're missing out on your greatest potential change. The Stoics didn't see themselves as perfect. They saw themselves as students of life, constantly learning and evolving. You, too, have the power to change. The next time you think, "I'm just this way," pause. Ask yourself, how can I improve this aspect of myself today? Remember, growth comes not from accepting who you are, but from challenging yourself to become who you could be. Section 3. This isn't fair. The idea of fairness is deeply ingrained in human nature. We want justice. We want life to be fair. And yet, life is rarely fair. Bad things happen to good people. People who don't deserve success often achieve it, and others, despite their best efforts, face setbacks that feel undeserved. It's easy to say, "This isn't fair," but that only leads to frustration, bitterness, and a feeling of helplessness. The Stoics taught that fairness is a myth. What matters is how we respond to life's challenges, not how fair or unfair they are. Life will always be unpredictable. Instead of dwelling on fairness, the Stoics focused on cultivating inner strength, accepting what they couldn't control and taking responsibility for what they could. John had always worked hard in his career, yet every time a promotion was available, someone else was chosen. For years, he was frustrated, thinking that the system was unfair. But then, he realized that his frustration wasn't changing anything. It was just draining his energy. South, he shifted his focus. Instead of complaining, he began learning new skills, expanding his network, and taking on more responsibilities. His actions spoke louder than his complaints. Eventually, he got the promotion he had worked so hard for, but only after he stopped blaming life's unfairness and started taking control. "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality," said Seneca. Instead of wasting energy on fairness, focus on your response. The Stoics didn't waste time on complaining. They focused on making themselves better equipped to handle life's challenges. Next time you feel the urge to say, "This isn't fair," stop and ask, "What can I do to improve my situation, regardless of the circumstances?" Section 4. I deserve this. This phrase is rooted in the idea of entitlement. I've worked hard, so I deserve this. It's a dangerous mindset, because life doesn't owe you anything. Entitlement makes you feel like the world should bend to your will, that because you've worked or suffered. Rewards should automatically follow, but Stoicism teaches us that life doesn't owe us rewards for effort. What matters is the quality of the effort itself. The Stoic approach is to focus not on what we deserve, but on what we can contribute. It's about doing things because they are virtuous, not because they come with a reward. Imagine an athlete who trains tirelessly for months, yet doesn't win the gold medal. Did they deserve to win? Maybe, but their true victory lies in the growth and discipline they cultivated along the way. In Stoicism, the effort is its own reward. Sophia, for example, had always believed that her hard work deserved recognition and rewards. But when the recognition didn't come, she became bitter and frustrated. It was only when she let go of the idea of deserving and started focusing on doing things for their own sake that she found peace and fulfillment. Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Said Epictetus, life doesn't owe us anything, and the sooner we accept that, the sooner we can focus on creating value, not waiting for recognition. Focus on the work, not the rewards. Instead of saying, I deserve this. Ask, how can I improve the quality of my work today? Recognize that fulfillment comes from doing your best, not from expecting something in return. Section 5. It's just fate's plan. There's something strangely comforting about the idea that life is preordained. The belief that it's just fate lets us off the hook. It allows us to feel like we're not responsible for the difficulties we face, and that there's nothing we can do about them. But here's the problem. Fate, as we imagine it, is often just an excuse for inaction. When we surrender to the idea of fate, we stop being active participants in our lives. We stop seeking solutions and looking for ways to improve. But the Stoics understood that fate doesn't control our responses. Our decisions do. They didn't reject fate, but they didn't let it rule their actions either. Instead of blaming fate, they focused on what was in their control, their own character and choices. Marcus Aurelius, despite facing some of the harshest challenges as an emperor, didn't simply chalk everything up to fate. Instead, he chose to embrace each challenge as an opportunity for growth. In his meditations, he wrote about accepting circumstances but not surrendering to them. He saw life as a series of moments that could be shaped by his actions. Fate may guide the events, but we control our responses. As Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you respond to it that matters." Fate, in the Stoic sense, isn't about resigning ourselves to life's circumstances. It's about accepting those circumstances while maintaining control over how we react. Fate doesn't define you, your choices do. When you feel like life is pushing you around with fate, ask yourself, how can I take control of this situation? Instead of passively accepting events, choose your response. Make decisions that align with your values and goals. Section 6. I can't do this. I can't do this is one of the most disempowering phrases you can say to yourself. It's a mental shutdown, an automatic belief that you are incapable. But here's the truth. You don't know what you can't do until you try. Saying "I can't" often means you've already decided the outcome without even testing your limits. Intelligent people don't give up before they begin. They don't let "I can't" dictate their actions. They choose to embrace challenges because they know that every obstacle is an opportunity to grow. Stoicism teaches that the strength to face challenges lies within you, and that true growth comes from testing your limits, even when it feels uncomfortable. Let's consider the example of John. He had a dream of starting his own business, but when he first thought about it, he said, "I can't do this. I don't know enough, and I don't have the resources." But one day, he decided to confront those fears head-on. He started small, learning from others, seeking mentorship, and slowly building his knowledge and confidence. Eventually, his business took off, not because he didn't face obstacles, but because he refused to stop before he even started. "The obstacle is the way," said Marcus Aurelius. This means that the very things you perceive as obstacles are often the path forward. Your "I can't" is often the signal that you need to dig deeper, work harder, and challenge your own limits. The next time you hear yourself say, "I can't," stop and reframe it. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this challenge? And then take the first step, no matter how small, toward overcoming it. Section 7. I don't care. Saying "I don't care" may seem like a way to protect yourself from disappointment or emotional pain. It's a defense mechanism. But in reality, This mindset isn't protecting you, it's distancing you from life's richness. The things you care about give life its meaning, and if you detach yourself from everything, you end up feeling numb and disconnected. The Stoics didn't advocate for emotional detachment in the way we often think. Instead, they promoted caring deeply for the right things, those things within our control. They knew that caring about things beyond our control, like other people's actions or the outcomes of events, leads to suffering. But they also knew that to live a fulfilling life, you must care about what you can control: your own actions, thoughts, and growth. Sophia, for example, had a hard time caring about things when life felt overwhelming. She'd say, "I don't care," to avoid feeling vulnerable. But when she began to care more about the process, about learning, growing, and building meaningful relationships, she felt more connected to life and more at peace with herself. You can't be good at everything, but you can be good at what matters, said Epictetus. The Stoics believed that caring deeply for what is within your power, your character, your actions, your virtues, is what truly enriches your life. The next time you feel yourself withdrawing with "I don't care," ask, "What can I care about that will help me grow?" Don't let the noise of the world drown out what really matters. Section 8. I already know this. There's nothing more dangerous than the belief that you already know everything. When you say, "I already know this," you close the door to learning. True intelligence isn't about knowing. It's about being willing to learn, even when you think you've heard it all before. The Stoics embraced the idea that knowledge is infinite and that wisdom comes not from accumulating facts, but from being humble enough to recognize how little we truly know. Every experience, every conversation, and every moment is an opportunity to learn. The moment you think you know everything is the moment you stop growing. John, for example, used to think he knew everything about his industry. He would dismiss new ideas because he felt that he had already mastered the basics. But when a younger colleague presented a new approach, John realized that he had closed himself off to innovation. By becoming more open to new perspectives, he not only learned something valuable, but also became a better leader. The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing, Socrates said. Embrace humility and recognize that there is always more to learn. Wisdom comes from questioning your assumptions, not from clinging to them. Next time you feel the urge to say, "I already know this," pause, ask, "What can I learn from this moment?" Stay open to new perspectives, even if you think you know the topic well. Section 9. I can't change my emotions. We often feel as though our emotions are uncontrollable, and in a way, they are. Emotions are a natural part of being human, but that doesn't mean we can't control how we respond to them. The Stoics didn't deny their emotions. They simply didn't allow their emotions to control them. Emotions are a tool. They signal something important, but they shouldn't dictate your behavior. The Stoics understood that the key to emotional mastery is not to suppress emotions, but to recognize them and choose your response. They knew that you can't control the wind, but you can adjust your sails. The same goes for emotions. You can't always control them, but you can control how you let them influence your actions. Sophia, for example, used to feel her anger boiling over in tense situations. Instead of reacting immediately, she started practicing mindfulness and pausing before speaking. Over time, she learned to understand her emotions and choose how to express them in a more constructive way. We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality, said Seneca. Emotions may arise, but they are not permanent. By practicing mindfulness and pausing before reacting, you can regain control over your emotional responses. The next time you feel overwhelmed by emotion, pause. Ask, how can I respond to this emotion in a way that aligns with my values? Take a deep breath and allow yourself to choose your response thoughtfully. Section 10. I don't deserve it. How often do we find ourselves saying, I don't deserve it? This statement usually stems from a sense of self-doubt or guilt. We're afraid of success, or we feel unworthy of happiness, recognition, or love. But the truth is, no one is inherently unworthy of success or joy. Your worth is not defined by your past mistakes or limitations. It's determined by your actions, your character, and your willingness to grow. The Stoics, in particular, emphasize that self-worth is not a gift from others, but a product of your own virtue. Marcus Aurelius was an emperor, yet he constantly questioned his own worth, trying to align his life with wisdom and virtue. He didn't see himself as deserving of anything. Instead, he focused on what he could give to the world, his ability to live a virtuous life. Sophia, for example, had always struggled with feelings of inadequacy. She would frequently question her value, even when she succeeded at something. This inner dialogue of, I don't deserve this, held her back from fully embracing her achievements. Eventually, she realized that her worth wasn't determined by external validation, but by her growth and actions. By focusing on being the best version of herself, she began to embrace her successes with gratitude rather than self-criticism. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. You are the creator of your worth, and it is not dependent on others' opinions or past failures. Instead of thinking you don't deserve something, think about how you can continue to grow and contribute. When you catch yourself saying, I don't deserve this, pause, ask, what actions can I take today that will align with my values and contribute to my personal growth? Your worth is not given to you. It's built by the decisions you make every day. Section 11. I don't need help. We live in a society that often equates asking for help with weakness. We're taught to be self-sufficient, to carry our own burdens. But the truth is, asking for help is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength and wisdom. Intelligent people know that no one succeeds alone. In fact, collaboration and seeking support are essential for growth. Stoic philosophers didn't reject help, they embraced it. Even the great leaders and philosophers sought counsel, guidance, and support from others. No one is an island. In fact, by isolating yourself and refusing to ask for help, you limit your ability to grow, learn, and reach your full potential. Think about John again. He had always prided himself on being self-reliant. He believed he had to do everything on his own to prove his worth. But as his responsibilities grew, so did the pressure. Eventually, he realized he couldn't juggle everything alone. When he started asking for help, he found that people were more than willing to lend their expertise, and his work became more efficient and meaningful. The quality of his life and work improved exponentially once he acknowledged the value of support. A friend to all is a friend to none, said Aristotle. Asking for help doesn't make you weak, it makes you wise. Recognizing when you need support is a sign of emotional intelligence, and it allows you to conserve your energy and focus on what truly matters. The next time you think, "I don't need help," reflect on the reality. What would it look like if I embraced support from others today? Whether it's asking for advice, sharing a burden, or collaborating with others, remember that help is a tool, not a crutch. Section 12. This isn't my fault. How often do we blame others or external circumstances for our difficulties? The phrase, "this isn't my fault," is a defensive shield that prevents us from taking responsibility and growing. While it's true that there are external forces beyond our control, the Stoics teach us that we are responsible for our responses to those forces. The Stoic mindset isn't about blaming others. It's about taking ownership of our actions and reactions. It's about recognizing that our power lies not in controlling the world, but in controlling how we engage with it. Blaming others for our problems is a form of giving away our power. It lets us off the hook for making changes in our own lives. Sophia was once in a job she hated, and she frequently blamed her boss for creating a toxic work environment. But when she stopped blaming her boss and looked inward, she realized that her own responses, her frustration, impatience, and lack of initiative, were contributing to her unhappiness. Once she took responsibility for her own mindset and actions, she found a new job and transformed her attitude. The external circumstances didn't change, but her perspective did. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Taking responsibility for your actions and responses is the key to freedom. Blaming others takes away your power to change your situation. Focus on what you can control, your actions, your thoughts, and your behavior. The next time you're tempted to say, "This isn't my fault," stop and ask yourself, what part of this situation can I take responsibility for? Responsibility is empowering. It gives you the power to change. Section 13. I must be perfect. Perfectionism is often seen as a virtue. We think that striving for perfection will make us better, more successful, and more admired. But in reality, perfectionism is a form of self-imposed pressure that can paralyze you. The belief that you must be perfect to be worthy can stop you from taking action, from trying new things, or from embracing your full potential. The Stoics understood that perfection is an illusion. No one can be perfect, and chasing after it only creates unnecessary stress and disappointment. Instead, the Stoics advocated for excellence, not perfection. Excellence comes from doing your best, learning from mistakes, and constantly improving, not from achieving an unattainable ideal. Think about John, who always believed he had to be perfect at everything he did. This belief made him anxious and led to procrastination. He would often avoid starting new projects because he feared failing. It was only when he embraced the idea of improvement over perfection that he found freedom. He stopped waiting for the perfect moment and just started, knowing that progress was more important than perfection. Perfection is not attainable, but if we chase perfection, we can catch excellence, said Vince Lombardi. The Stoics believed that the pursuit of virtue and improvement is far more important than attaining perfection. Perfection is a trap. Excellence is a journey. The next time you catch yourself thinking, "I must be perfect," reframe it. Ask, how can I improve today, even if it's imperfect? Focus on the process and the progress you can make, not on an unattainable standard of perfection. Conclusion: we've all said these things at one point or another. I don't have time. I don't need help. This isn't my fault. And I must be perfect. But these beliefs limit our growth, and the Stoics would urge us to challenge them. Each of these phrases is a reflection of a mindset that holds us back. The truth is, you have the power to change. You can embrace responsibility, seek support, and pursue excellence, not perfection. And by doing so, you will cultivate the wisdom, strength, and peace that come from living in alignment with Stoic principles. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts, said Marcus Aurelius. South, the next time you catch yourself thinking or saying any of these limiting beliefs, remember, you are not helpless. You have the power to change your mindset and transform your life. Take responsibility, embrace your imperfections, and start living with intention. If this resonated with you, we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Share your experiences, and remember, we're all growing together. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more transformative content. See you next time.